Thank you so much for joining me on the MediaLab podcast. It's awesome to have you. So to give you a little introduction, the MediaLab podcast, we like focus on people who create and just people who are business minded, you know. And I know that you sell a lot of homes, a lot of like multi-million-dollar homes, and have really made a name for yourself and for your brand. And so just tell me a little about building a brand for yourself in real estate. I know it can be hard because it's such a big market.
Yeah, well, so a little bit about myself. I've
Right.
been selling real estate now for about 18 years. And when I first started in real estate, I really was just kind of like an individual agent, right? So when I first started, I was probably one of the first young guys here in New Mexico to really kind of get a name for himself, right? So one of the things that was really important to me is, you know, I didn't go to college. I didn't have any kind of a degree or anything like that going into it. But I did know that basically if I just did really, really good and I took care of people, I knew how to work. I knew how to work from early on. So I just knew that if I did my best to guide people in the right direction, even though I was young, I wanted to get people to like me and trust me and then do a good job for them, then I can succeed in my career. And that was one of the things I think that was really important for me early on was I was that young guy, but I knew that I had it in me and I believed in myself, and the people that I surrounded myself with believed in me to want to do it. So, you know, creating a brand, you know, branding and all of that stuff right now is super, super important. But you know, I got in real estate before like Zillow was in the game, Realtor.com was in the game. So I was doing a lot of stuff just kind of by doing open houses and getting myself out there and getting people to like me and trust me.
Well, that's really cool. So I guess let's start. So you have 18 years experience, what you were saying, and you're moving more into like the listing and sort of like that side. I want to know more about like the open house grind, because I've heard from like a lot of realtors that really was a grind, you know. Just tell me about that.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that I built my business. I'll be honest, I built my business through open houses. And so when I was first getting started, I would go into the office on the weekends. I would see agents basically sitting in the conference room, writing up purchase agreements. And I'm just like, you know, I'm hungry, man. I want to figure out how I can get some business. So I worked retail quite a bit before I got into real estate. So I knew how to talk to people. And you know what? I started doing open houses basically every Saturday, every Sunday. Sometimes I would do 2 on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday. And again, this was before all of the technology right now where, you know, if I do an open house this weekend, I can put it on to the website. I can put it on Zillow. I can put it on Realtor.com. I can put it on all these really awesome platforms that will let everybody know that I am having an open house. And when I first started, it was just basically you could put an ad in the newspaper, or you can put up just a bunch of signs and direct people to the house. And so that's what I did, man. I was just building my business very, very heavily in the open house game, and it was totally a grind. But it gave me an opportunity to get people to meet me as an individual, to like me, to trust me, and then just to give me that opportunity. So as a young guy, what I needed to do is I needed to make sure that I was as knowledgeable as I possibly could be in the real estate market, knowing that I was, you know, baby-faced young guy that didn't ever do real estate.
Right. And that really is important to be hungry too, because like, yeah, like you're saying, it's the long hours. And the thing with like selling houses and realty and stuff is that like the ceiling is huge. Like as you know, the ceiling is huge. And so that the hunger is really necessary. I really like what you're saying that you were in retail too. What areas of retail did you work?
So I sold clothes. Right. I don't know if you guys have the Buckle out there in
like
in
jean
Colorado.
place.
Yeah. So my first retail job was over at the Gap in Santa Fe. I grew up in Santa Fe. So there was a store downtown, and it was just a small little store. But what was cool about it is it gave me an opportunity to really kind of get to know people. I would highly recommend anybody who's listening to this podcast, these young entrepreneurs that are thinking that they want to start a business or run a business or get involved in business, get into retail and become a server for a little while, because it teaches you so much about people. So I had this idea of wanting to move to Albuquerque. And so one of the cool things about the Gap was that you had the opportunity to transfer stores, big corporation, right? So I moved here to Albuquerque and I started working at the mall. And there was this lady that kept coming into the Gap, and she kept trying to recruit me. And she's just like, hey, you should come work down here for me. It was at the Buckle. And I'm like, well, I'll make you a deal. So I told her, I said, if I can just like walk around and talk to people and sell people clothes and not have to be stuck 1 hour on the register, 1 hour folding clothes, 1 hour folding T-shirts, and you just kind of let me walk around and sell clothes, I'll come down there.
Yeah, you knew what you wanted to do.
And she said, one of the cool things about this job is that it's commission based. So that was my first taste of commission, right? And so the cool thing about the Buckle was that, you know, you can sell them a pair of pants, you can sell somebody some shoes, a shirt, a watch. I mean, there was all these different things that basically you can do to sell somebody some clothes and make a commission.
It wasn't just like shirts and underwear and stuff. We're talking like there were some actual like big ticket items that you would like focus on.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you know, some kids would walk in, and this was like, you know, back in the day when Tommy and Janko and all those cool jeans were like really in.
Right, the cool jeans, yeah. The Jankos.
Yeah. And, you know, kids that had cash would come in with their parents, and you just lock them down on 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs of Tommy pants. At the time, they were like $60 to $80, $100, you know. And so it gave me an opportunity to understand people, to understand what people wanted. And then I kind of shifted into the hospitality business. You know, I was like kind of burnt out from retail. I was 21. I didn't go to college. I had a crazy work ethic. I knew I wanted to work. And so I went over to the Hilton Hotel here in Albuquerque. And I interviewed, and I said, I want to get into the sales side of the hotel. I interviewed with the general manager, and he said, well, that's kind of a seniority thing. You kind of have to work your way into that. We've had people inside this organization that have been there for 20 years, blah, blah. And so he told me, the general manager basically told me, like, hey, man, I have 2 jobs open. I have front desk and I have a bellman. And so I chose the front desk, and within about 6 months of me being at the hotel, I was already running the front desk. I became the manager. I was wearing the suit, 21 years old. I was feeling good, you know?
Right.
And so there was a restaurant inside of the hotel, which was called the Ranchers Club. And it's this like high-end fine dining restaurant. At the time, it was like one of the top restaurants in town.
Wow.
And I wanted to become a server. So, you know, I eventually worked my way into a server role there. And I would make more money in one night waiting tables at this restaurant than I would all week working 9 to 5, right? And
I definitely know how that goes. I was bartending for a long time, you know. I worked in like fast food when I was like 15, you know. Worked basically in the restaurant industry my whole life and never had a tipped position until I got to be a server. And I've experienced the same thing you did. I was like, wow, why am I wasting, you know, all my time working for an hourly when I can make $30+ an hour, you know, serving or bartending?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so I got a taste of that. And one night I was waiting on this lady, and she changed my life, really. She was just like, you got crazy energy. What do you do? And I said, oh, I work here at the hotel, and I work one night here at the restaurant, and I'm running the front desk at the Hilton, and thought I was this like cool guy, just gonna work my way into the Hilton hotel business, right?
Right.
And she said, you need to come and work for me. And I said, well, what do you do? She's dolled up, getting expensive bottles of wine, big ring, rolly. She's just she looked really good, right? And I said, what do you do? I'm not kidding, bro. I didn't have any idea what she did, right?
Yeah.
She's like, I sell real estate. And I was like, what is that? And she says, I sell houses.
Yep.
And the cool thing about selling houses is that you can make as much money as you possibly can imagine. There's no ceiling. And she said, let me have your phone number. And I gave her my phone number, and dude, she called me. She told me what to do. She took me to a career night, and she guided me through that process. And it took me a little bit of time. It took me like 5 times, dude, to pass my real estate test. I basically, that was like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. It took me a little bit.
What kind of questions are on like a real estate test? Because I have no idea. It's like, it sounds pretty difficult.
It's a lot of rules and regulations pertaining to real estate. It's a lot of terms and things like that you won't really ever use, but you have to know it, right? All I remembered was I just need that one little piece of paper.
Right.
And once I have that dumb little piece of paper that tells me that I can go work, it's on. So that was my mindset. That was my focus. And I eventually did end up getting it. And I called her. As soon as I passed my test, I said, hey, do you remember me? She says, absolutely. Meet me. We're going to go to lunch. And I went to lunch with her, and I explained to her kind of how I operate. I said, look, I am not like a sit in a class type person. Let me come with you. Let me roll around with you. Let me just be around you. And that's the easiest way that I can learn and help you grow your business, and you can help me learn the business. And so I stayed with this woman. Her name is Carol Hartman. She is still kind of a real estate agent in the Las Vegas area now. She moved. But that woman, honestly, bro, she changed my life because she gave me that opportunity. She mentored me, and she really taught me what it was to understand real estate and understand what I needed to do personally to make a name for myself. So I actually jumped on her team, and this was before like the whole team thing was really big. Jumped on her team, and then I stayed with her for about a year. So the first year I was in real estate, my goal first year was like, I'm going to make 50 grand, right? That was like my goal. I'm going to make 50 grand. I'm going to make 50 grand. That first year in real estate, I had made like $65,000, right? And I was
just over it, right?
Super excited
Hell yeah.
about it. And I was rookie of the year for my company.
There you go.
And that first year, I just had like a really big push. And then the next year, I went out on my own.
Wow.
And so the next year, I went to like 150,000, right? And then the next year, I went to like 300,000. And by the time I was 26 years old, which was 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, that was 4 years in the business. By the time I was 26 years old, I was already cracking 500 grand.
That's incredible. And I just want to say that says so much about like just our school system, honestly, because our school system is basically, it's determined that if you can't sit behind a desk and just sit there and watch somebody teach you, then you're not smart, or you won't be successful. And I mean, you prove it wrong just there. Even though it took you 5 times to pass the test itself is not the successor, it's what you do after. And I really feel like the economy is missing really good mentor roles. And because so much of it is put on that degree, that piece of paper, and then they expect you to know it. And not many people want to take the time to mentor and, teach people. And so that's awesome that you found Carol, that she was able to help you and really mentor you to that role where you're making almost, $500,000 in a year at 26 years old. That's crazy. I can't even imagine that. But so let's backtrack a little bit, because I know you kind of had like not a great upbringing, right? Like your life through the teenage years was pretty bad.
Well, yeah, like my upbringing, honestly, I had loving parents, and
Okay.
I had people that were around me that cared about me. But I just grew up basically, I grew up low income pretty much my whole life. I grew up in the projects as a kid pretty much my whole kid life. I grew up in Espanola, and then I moved to Santa Fe. And my dad was like a maintenance guy, and he was a maintenance guy for these project development. So what that did is that gave us an opportunity to have like free housing as long as my dad was the maintenance guy for those. But the reality is that I could have gone a very different path. I could have gone a very, very different way. And it's crazy how I ended up and how I turned out to be who I have become. Because growing up as a kid, I was very involved in sports. So that's where my competitiveness comes from. But I also grew up where, we would have to stand in line to get commodity food, block cheese, like things like that. So I know the reality of both sides of my life right now.
Right. And you know how easy it is you could see, you know how easy it is to build up that amount of wealth, but it's also easy just to lose it all completely, And so it's like a very fine balance between keeping your life the way it is and expanding at a right amount where you might not lose it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
what about,
one of the other
go ahead. Sorry.
And one of the other things that's cool about growing up that way, right, is that I can be a chameleon big time in business right now. So I can relate to, I could be a homie real quick if I need to be.
Right.
Or I could be the sharpest dude in the room with the best suit, yes sir, no sir, and know how to play the game at a very high level. So knowing that past of how I grew up, I can be super relatable. And then I can also be that person that can be trustworthy when I am going on this luxury listing, or I have this luxury client who's looking to, buy a home or sell a home. I have a closing today that is a $950,000 sale, and they're buying a $650,000 home. And honestly, man, they've been the coolest, easiest people in the world.
Yeah.
Do
you have any friends you grew up with in like the project area where you're like, damn, like I'm not even saying like that you like were super close to it, or just people you knew where it's like you could have went down a similar path, or that's who I could have been, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, my sister, she passed away at 41 years old, bless her heart, but she took that path. And she died because she had cirrhosis.
Wow.
She died of cirrhosis. She was drinking every day. She was partying every day. And so there's people that look at me and they say, man, this guy was able to get out. This guy was able to do it. And then there's other people that think, oh, this guy grew up in Santa Fe. No wonder he, lives in a really nice neighborhood or a great community, because Santa Fe, people think about Santa Fe and they think that it's all this high-end, beautiful, luxury living.
Right.
Well, there's two parts to Santa Fe, my man. I grew up on the other side of Santa Fe.
Yeah, we're on the other side of the railroad tracks. Yeah.
I grew up on the other side of Santa Fe. So, it's all perception. People see you online. People think, you go onto my Instagram, you think, oh, all this dude does is sell big houses. It's not true. My organization this year will close 140 transactions.
Wow.
Okay. We'll do, it's really interesting because I've been cranking six figures for a really long time, and now we're in the 7-figure game.
Nice. Congrats.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And so people think that we're just selling all these big homes, and Like I live in New Mexico, man. Like I am pounded. I have a $900,000 home closing today, a $400,000 home closing today, and a $180,000 home today.
Yeah, so you're not this like, yeah, I'm only touching this big fish stuff, you know. You're gonna be making money wherever there is to make money. And honestly, those smaller houses, like you were saying, the best business is to help people. And if you're helping the people in the smaller houses, who knows 5 to 10 years from now who's gonna be in that $900,000 house, you know?
The smaller houses are your gold card, I promise.
Really?
Any of your real estate agent friends, anybody listening to this, it's taken me 18 years, not 18, probably 16 to really up into the luxury market, right? But in the luxury market, it's different because you're that big name and that cool guy that everybody is wanting to help
Right.
sell their right now. Where these $180,000 people, they're your gold card because they're telling everybody, oh my God, I'm buying a home. Oh man, this dude David has been so cool. He's guided me. He's helped me through the process. The big people, for the most part, they're awesome and they're amazing and they're going to tell their friends, but they're very private. They're working in their business. They're retired. They're traveling. They're doing other things. They're not ranting and raving as much about me as that $180,000 client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the amount of life you changed in the 180,000 is much greater than the life you changed in the 900,000 because that's probably like their third or fourth house, you know, like in all likeliness, yeah. And the 180,000, that's probably, I'm assuming, probably their first purchase or their first really big purchase. And yeah, I could totally see what you're saying, and I really like that advice you gave, and I like the advice you gave earlier too about if anyone just work in retail, work, you know, as a server to really develop those interpersonal human skills. I want to know, would you also recommend or advise people to find a job commission based? Because you really seem to be into the commission, and I am too. So, would you recommend that?
It's driven by, you know, now that I have a real estate team, it's very interesting because not everybody is super driven by money or by commission or by like goals. You know, I always gauge. I'm very, very goal orientated,
right?
But I'm also like, you know, we do affirmations. We're talking about gratitude. We're very dialed in that category too. But there's other people and even some people in the team that just want to be part of it. Right?
That is pretty interesting. They just want to be part of a team that's making like a larger goal happen. Yeah, but when you say that, like someone's not driven by goals or money, like what drives them then? I guess it would be my question.
When you're in real estate, right, you want to set goals and you want to be inspired to want to sell homes and make money.
Right.
But if you get into this business, like I wake up every day and I put on a suit and I don't get paid by the hour.
Mm-hmm.
Really important to understand that. Any of your people that are listening to this and thinking about real estate is you cannot think about the money ever. You got to think about the client, the transaction, because the better what separates, and this is what I tell people all the time, this is the separator. We talk about this all the time in Arte, right? Ed Milet, these guys are always telling us this. The difference between a good agent and a bad agent is that process, how that process is being explained, right? The better you understand, Sterling, the process of how to buy a home, the easier it's going to be for me to be able to get you to like me and trust me, for you to tell all of your friends about me.
I do definitely see what you're saying in terms of like the process, and I really just kind of want to go more into that process because, you know, I'm 24. I don't really know literally do not know this first step into buying a house, but I would like to within the next 6 years, you know. So, I mean, what does that process look like?
Well, you know, the reality is that if you're looking to get into a home, right, you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to talk with a lender. That's step one.
Find a lender.
Making sure that you know where you stand in terms of qualifying for a mortgage. Because the better you understand where you stand financially, it's going to make things so much easier. And it really comes down to debt to income ratio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, anybody listening to this podcast, young or old, your credit is your gold card. I promise. You can have really, really good credit and not have a bunch of, or not make a bunch of money, but you will be able to qualify versus somebody who has just a bunch of cash and they don't have great credit. And unless they can't pay cash for everything, it's going to be very difficult or challenging for somebody to get a mortgage. Especially right now, interest rates are less than 3%.
Yeah.
It's free money out there.
Legitimately free money. It's crazy. I mean, so yeah, find a lender and know where you stand financially. I like that. I guess I want to talk about like the free money right now, because that is kind of crazy. People with this, like the coronavirus and like the whole economic downturn, people thought the real estate market would kind of take, or at least downtrend a little bit, but it's done the exact opposite, right?
It's done the exact opposite because there was already a shortage of inventory going into the pandemic. Okay. So right now, I don't know what the Denver market looks like,
right.
But in New Mexico, Albuquerque, we're talking Albuquerque, okay? If a normal real estate market in Albuquerque right now, we would be hovering right now between 4 to 4,500 homes on the market. That would be like normal, pre-COVID, like normal everything, right? Right now, today, well, yesterday I was looking on MLS. I haven't had a chance to look today, but yesterday in MLS, there were 1,383 homes for sale.
Wow. Almost like what, 3 times less the amount than normal?
Wild.
That's crazy.
And in 18 years of real estate, I've never seen the interest rate this low for this long of time.
Really? Even post 2008, they didn't keep them this low for this long?
Not this low for this long.
Wow.
2.75% as of yesterday on a regular FHA 3.5% down basic home or basic loan.
Right.
Right? Crazy. So if you're looking to get into a home, there is a program that is called an MFA loan. It works really well in New Mexico and probably works really well out there. And what it is if you make a certain amount of money, and I think right now it's $55,000 or less.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
If you make $55,000 or less and you've never purchased a home before, or you haven't purchased a home and been a homeowner within like a 2-year time, you have an opportunity to get grant money. So the minimum down payment requirement is 3.5%. The grant takes care of 3% of the 3.5% down payment for you if you can qualify for this grant.
So you would literally have to pay.
So most people are paying about $1,000 to get into a home.
That's what I was about to say, like $1,000 for a $200,000 house.
Yeah, which is amazing.
That's insane. Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, especially my younger clients who are maybe making underneath that 55, right?
Right.
Somebody who knows that they're going to start making a lot more money as they get further along in their career. I'm telling them to go out and get a house now.
Yeah.
Go out and get a house right now because you're never going to be able to take advantage of this free money.
And you're not talking about like a couple months. You're saying like now. Like you should have done this last month.
Well, again, right? There's certain things that are happening in the market.
Right.
So here, $200,000 house, there's 5, 10, 15 offers.
Mm-hmm.
So if the house is listed at $200,000, you're probably going to get bid up to $220,000.
So is that a problem as well then? That like the same quality of house is, since the amount on the market is so much less, the quality of house that's selling for $200,000 would have sold for like 100,000 a year or two ago.
Not that big of a
Right.
difference. We're not in these crazy double-digit appreciation markets here in New Mexico. Cool thing about New Mexico is that we've never been really, really good, and we've never been really, really bad. We've always just been kind of nice and steady. So that is a market, in my opinion, that you want to be a buyer in, you want to be a seller in, you want to be a realtor in, because we don't see these crazy double-digit appreciations. And Denver, before like you guys legalized marijuana and before
Right.
you guys did all that, it was probably very similar, but now it's popping. Like you guys are cracking out there, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Even just doing like the barest amount of research in terms of like real estate. Yeah, we're seeing double digit appreciation, triple digit appreciation. I'm like, wow, this is insane. Even my dad, he bought a house like hour and a half north of Denver, kind of in the Greeley area. And yeah, he's saying he's already made like $70,000 on it after a couple years.
Sterling, if you ever decide that you want to buy a home, I can get you in touch with a top agent out there, because I'm part of an organization with inside of my company. I'm the top 1% of Keller Williams agents nationwide, and so I can get you in touch with somebody who can guide you in the right direction if that's the path that you're going to take. I know you guys have some relationships with realtors and stuff out there. Everybody knows a realtor, and that's the
Right.
fun thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, I know a realtor, and some people who used to sell real estate when we could go out to eat they were like my waiters. Like they didn't make, there's different levels to my business, just like there is to your business, right?
Oh yeah. They got the freelancers, you got the teams, you got the big corporations out here doing all the video podcasts and stuff.
So it's all dependent upon if somebody. I always tell people this is if somebody likes you, and it could be somebody who shoots my videos, somebody who cuts my hair, somebody who cleans my yard, somebody who does my pool, like whatever that is, right? If I like them and I trust them, then it's on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm reading like what was it? Like genius is hard, but bravery is even in shorter supply, or something along those lines, where if you really just got to speak your mind and feel like if you're in a room with people important and you are brave enough to speak against whatever they're saying because you really believe in what you're saying, that is one of the most important things.
Totally.
Yeah. You don't want a room full of head nodders.
Well, and you also, this is the same thing too. This is why I'm in different organizations, very similar to Armando, right?
Right.
Like I need to be around people who are thinking bigger than me and who are doing better than me.
Mm-hmm.
Because once I feel like I've outgrown something and I'm stagnant, then I get complacent, right? Then I get like, well, okay, I'm always like that. What's next? What's next? And that's a good thing, but that's also a bad thing.
Right.
Because this year, our goal, I've had a goal in my mind for $1 million in commission, right?
Wow.
Like 5 years ago, I started saying that.
Right.
I'm going to make $1 million a year. I'm going to make $1 million a year. I'm going to make $1 million a year, right? Some of my friends that know me are like, fuck yeah, you are. And then some people that didn't know me that I would say that to, or they'd see an affirmation, or they'd see something on my story, and they would say, yeah, right.
Right.
Right? They would say, yeah, right. Well, this year, we completely annihilated that goal, right? But leading up to next week when we meet, or in 2 weeks when we meet about 2021 game plan, what do you think is out there? A bigger goal.
Yeah. Because you just expand, you get more people, and you want to say, I'm not just going to make $1 million. I want all of these people to make $1 million too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to, in this business, is you got to stop and smell the roses, right? Mm. In any business, but especially in real estate business, you have to really make time for yourself. You got to make time for your health, for your fitness. When I first started in real estate, we'd go out and have beers in the afternoons and happy hours and lunches and dinners and all this stuff. Well,
only have coffee for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still cool, but you got to make sure that you're feeding your body the right food, hitting the gym. Like, I'm a lot more focused and I'm a lot more dialed in my 40s, which I've only, I'm 41, but probably within the last, I would say 3 years, 4 years, I've really, really taken my fitness and my health and everything completely to the next level, because I'm trying to level up. And right now, I'm trying to separate myself from a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you listen to Ed Milet or if you follow a lot of stuff that Armando follows, but we are part of the same organization, which we are part of Arte.
Right.
And right now, that's how I met Armando.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Ed's been talking quite a bit about separation season, right? Doing things to separate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This morning at the gym, I was working out with my girlfriend. We don't ever really work out together, but we did this morning, right? And she was dying. And it was cool, but I said, baby, we're doing things to separate ourselves. So we're going to add a whole nother circuit in today. We're going to add a whole nother this in today or that in today. And when we jumped in the car and I took her home before I came back to my house, she said, thank you so much.
Right.
I feel amazing.
Yeah, the physical well-being is probably as important, or if not more important, than your mental well-being, because they're not disconnected. Your body feeds off your brain and vice versa, and I'm 100% I'm with you. I run and I feel like I run and like climb things, and I feel like that meditative like experience I get from doing that, like I wouldn't have been able to grow myself as a person if it weren't for those things. And I know you said you were into sports as well. What when you were younger, what kind of sports do you play or did you play?
When I was young, I played a ton of baseball. That was
Nice.
kind of my game. I'm a lefty, so I was like a pitcher, and so I played a ton of baseball. Once I got into high school, though, like, back then they didn't monitor your pitches. They didn't do all the things that they do now to make sure that you don't, throw your arm out and things like that.
Right.
And so really, truly, by the time I got to high school, my arm was already pretty much dead. I mean, it was already pretty much done. But I played a lot of basketball. I played a lot of baseball. And now as an adult, I'm doing the gym and we snowboard a ton. So that's
nice.
kind of my my sport right now is, skiing with the kids, snowboarding like that, stuff like that is pretty much what we do in the winter. We're very blessed to live in a golf course community here in Albuquerque. So we golf quite a bit. I've picked up golf pretty seriously these last couple of years. So those are kind of my sports as an adult, is golf in the summer or golf as much as we can. And then in the winter, we're definitely snowboarding and hanging out as much as we can at the ski base.
Nice. Golf is really cool. Something when I was like, in my teens, I was like golf. I had friends who did it, but I was like, well, it looks kind of boring. But I bartended at a country club a couple years ago, and talking to people, you really realize where it's like, oh, like you go and do those same holes, and each time it's about the little progress, and really sort of thinking back on your swings and thinking back what you could have done right. It's really sort of a mental game. It's a mental game, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And if you're just having a bad day, or I didn't used to like it because I felt like it was too slow for me. Right?
Right.
I'm like, let's go. I would use it for like the networking and.
Well, I mean, baseball is not exactly fast paced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've learned to really kind of slow down a little bit. I've learned to really kind of enjoy my life a little bit more. I was pretty super crazy worker in my 20s, got divorced when I got into my 30s. And so I became a single parent very quickly with two little boys. And so I had to really understand and prioritize what the long game was for myself, And I'm always playing the long game on everything. Nothing is quick and easy. If something's quick and easy, it's very temporary, right? But I think at this point right now in my world is that I have fulfilled a lot of what my goals are as an individual, and now I'm just trying to pour into my organization and pour into my team, and I'm really digging the mentor role a lot, and really trying to get people to really get bought into my world, because my world is very big and I'm a big thinker. But if I can get some people to get bought into my world, then they're going to have that opportunity like I did. And there's so much opportunity within inside of my organization, or even in real estate. It's just sky is the limit. That's the crazy thing about this job. Is that
so you're saying that you want to bring people and you want to mentor people into this market, because really there is such a high opportunity. But so with the easy money happening right now and the low inventory, are you not worried about something similar happening to 2008? Or do you really think that like this sort of growth is pretty sustainable?
Well, and the reality is last time it was a real estate crash.
Right.
This time it's not. This time we're in a pandemic, and the economy is shaky due to the pandemic, but it has nothing to do with real estate. There isn't any crazy loans out there. There isn't anything that is hindering somebody steering themselves one direction or the other when it comes to financing. The '08 market crash was strictly due to banks and lenders and people giving out money to people who shouldn't have been getting money.
Right.
That's very different than what we're in right now. So even if the market shifts, which honestly I hope that it does a little bit for everyone's sake, because there's people right now who want to buy a home that can't buy a home, and it's not that they can't qualify, it's that they can't buy one because they can't compete, or they can't like their threshold for qualifications is a certain amount, and they can't even find anything that fits the criteria of what they're qualified for. So even if another 1,000 homes come for sale here, 2,000 homes, I think that will give these people who have lost out on offer over offer over offer an opportunity now to sell their home. And in a market that is happening right now, a guy like me and a person who has a good reputation, we're hitting home runs right now because we control a lot of the inventory.
Right.
But when the market shifts and you can't just pound a for sale sign in the front yard and throw it online, then a guy like me is going to be in very high demand, because they're going to need somebody who has proven success and proven results and systems and models in place that can actually grow.
Well, thank you, Dave. I mean, yeah, you've given us some really good advice. You know, you've definitely talked me into looking into buying a home, not waiting 6 years, but maybe 6 months, you know?
Well, and here's the thing too, man, you got to remember, this is something that is important for a lot of people out there that are listening to the podcast who are thinking about their first home. This is your first home. You're not going to get every single thing that you want out the gate. Park your money. Like I'm a big investor when it comes to rentals and things like that. So I love people who rent homes and not buy, because, you know, they're paying my mortgage for me. At the same time, if you have a good job and you're wanting to own a home, don't wait, because next year there may be some more inventory, but next year interest rates might be 4% when they're 2.75% right now. And so at the end of the day, no matter what, even if it's $1 million home, it comes down to what's my payment and for how long.
Yeah.
You know? So
that's the base of it.
Keep that in mind.
That's nice.
Just keep that in mind.
I want to see too. I mean, you can head out if you need to. I just want to ask if you've seen like any YouTubers. Do you watch any YouTube at all?
You know what? I don't. Not much.
Not
My
really.
kids do.
You should check out this guy named Stephan. He kind of preaches a lot of similar stuff, and I think you would like him a lot.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Stephan.
Yep, Graham and then Stephen. Like, yeah, he YouTuber guy I watch a lot. He's kind of the same. He started in real estate when he was very young, and like, yeah, preaches about commission and like low interest rate, all of this stuff. And definitely check him out. I feel like you would like his content.
If you guys need anything from me, let me know, and we'll circle back around to you on what we had discussed before the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, David. Thanks for talking with me, and I'll send over that stuff to you, and I hope you have a great day.
You too, brother. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David.